I'm Ryan Green.
And I'm Zack Taylor.
And together we are Commander Social. And this week we're going to be talking to you about budget cards in Commander.
Yep.
Right? You know, we're going to try to focus on some cards that are a little less expensive.
You're not going to have to spend your whole paycheck on to build a deck.
Yeah, and they're going to still be super good. Okay. Yep. So before we get into that, though, we want to thank everyone out there in audience land. Thank you so much for supporting us. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please remember to hit the like button,
the subscribe button, and
the bell for ring-a-ding notifications. Okay, so let's go ahead and thank our patrons, right?
Yep. Thank you, patrons. It's awesome that you make that financial contribution every month, but really, I feel like the real value we get from our patrons is being able to communicate with them and bounce ideas off of them and just see what they're doing. To me, that's the real value.
Yeah, actually just talking with them in our Discord server is great. It just, I don't know, it brightens my day every time. So
yeah, I love you can throw a deck in there and they'll be like, oh, we have all these ideas. And they throw decks in there and we're like, yeah, these ideas. And it's pretty sweet.
It's just a place full of ideas, really.
Yeah, it's an idea. It's a think tank. So Ryan, who's our patron of the week?
All right. Well, it's totally fitting that our patron of the week is Commander's Brew.
Yeah.
Andy and Sean, right?
Yep.
They are amazing content creators.
Yep.
They make amazing stuff. You should check out their... Yeah, absolutely. We've seen them at quite a few Magic Fests. And, they have their podcast, right?
Yep.
And also there's Battle of the Brews on YouTube. So you can actually watch gameplay. And it's really awesome. So thank you so much, Andy and Sean, for supporting us. That really, really means a lot to us. Yep. And folks, if you're watching or listening to this episode and you want some more budget content, you should definitely check their stuff out. And we've got some links in the show note. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more later. But yeah, just huge shout out to those two amazing, awesome guys.
Definitely just grab a bottle of water and check them out.
Yeah, for sure. Best EDH snack ever. All right, okay. So we've also got a patron contest this month.
Yep.
So Zach, go ahead and take it away.
So the patron contest for this month is a Theros Beyond Death collector's booster. There's I've seen some of those cracked on Twitter. I've seen some pictures.
Yeah, actually, one of our patrons, Dan Kraus, posted his pulls from one of these, and oh man, there were some nice cards in there.
Well, didn't you get the? I know it was a extended art, the blue green guide, but was it also foil?
I think it was just extended art. It was Uro Titan of Nature's Wrath, I think. Yeah. Oh man, looked really pretty.
I mean, you got that box foil of him though. That looked really good too.
Yeah, but it's not extended art,
That's true. That's true.
So okay, so we're gonna do another thing for our patrons in the month of February, and it's going to be a patron-only Brawl tournament. We've done this before in the past, and it was a whole lot of fun. And so we're going to do it again, and we've got a new set, Theros Beyond Death.
Yep.
And so the idea is if you're a patron by the end of February, and the tournament may start a little bit before the end of February, we're not sure, but follow for more details. But as long as you're a patron by the time the tournament starts, you can enter and play in the tournament. And we're going to try to do something a little different this time, I think. Mm-hmm. We're going to have everybody play a Brawl deck with one of the new legends from Theros Beyond Death. And if you win that tournament, you will also be, you will get a Theros Beyond Death Collector's Booster, right? We're going to give away 2 this month to our patrons, right? So, one for any tier patron and one to the winner of the Brawl patron-only tournament.
The one we give away for the Brawl patron tournament won't be this month if the tournament starts at the end of the month. It'll probably be at the beginning of March-ish.
But whatever, it's still going to count. So it's going to be awesome.
No, it's definitely two chances to get a sweet booster.
And here's the point, right? Our patrons are so valuable to us, right? Providing us with all this feedback and stuff that we want to give back to you.
For sure.
And this is our way to do it. So again, thank you so much. And we don't want to leave our Twitter folks out in the dark either. So if you are going to participate in our Twitter contest this month, you can be eligible to win 3 Theros Beyond Death booster packs.
That's right. And Ryan, where can they find you on Twitter?
If you want to find me on Twitter, I'm at Green Geek.
I'm at Z4CK38, and together we're at Commander Social. And by the time you see this video, there'll be a tweet about said 3 packs of Theros Beyond Death. And all you gotta do is follow us, retweet the tweet, and then reply with 3 of your best friends.
So Zach, what's been going on in your personal life, man?
Not much. I went home to about 45 minutes-ish from here to see my mom, to hang out for a weekend. I work from home on Fridays, so I went went after I got off Thursday, and then spent Friday with her and worked from home and kind of like helped her do some stuff around the house Thursday night and Friday during the day. And then today we did some stuff this morning, had lunch, and then moseyed on back up to Austin.
Yeah, got to be here to film the podcast,
That's
right?
true.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
true.
All right.
What about you, Ryan? What's going on with you?
All right, well, it's time for your hashtag MTG Dad Moment, and this is a good one. This is for my son, Malcolm, and we have like a little tower that he can eat at the table in, and sometimes he sits in a chair, sometimes he's in the tower where he can stand and eat, but he was really smitten with the idea of like scaring Kelly and I. And so it was really funny because he would like duck down in the tower and then he would pop up and say, boo. Right. And then, oh, you scared me. You know, you have to act scared. Right. Because that's the reaction. And then he was laughing, but his laughter was like very like it was like kind of fake sounding. And it was really, really funny.
Yeah. It was kind of macabre, but it was kind of like it was still really, really funny. Like it's like, he's not, it's like he's doing because he thinks that's what he's supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, I'm laughing just thinking about it.
Yeah.
And actually, I think we're going to have a clip to put in right here.
You scared me.
All right, so hopefully you guys heard some audio there of my son. I just think it was really cute, and I don't know, it just makes me smile thinking about it.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah, hopefully you enjoyed that. Okay, so now it's time to do the thing that we do every episode.
Let's thank Mike Condon, gentleman, scholar, audio master, guitar shredder. Awesome dude. Thank you, Mike, for being our silent partner. Also this week, I want to thank Mike for reminding me to do something important, renewing my Quicken subscription, because Quicken is how you keep your budget. So I've got a line item every paycheck for Magic cards.
Right, as you should, yes.
And also, I don't know if you know, but Quicken is really a spreadsheet.
Spreadsheets.
It's the year of the spreadsheet.
It all ties together. It's all about budget this episode.
Yep,
Okay.
Yep.
All right, so that's going to move us right on into a segment we like to call
Commander Rules.
All right, so on Commander Rules, we like to take a deep dive into the comprehensive rules of Magic the Gathering.
Word.
And this week, the rule is going to be 705.1 and 705.2.
Oh, I know that one.
Yeah, it's about flipping coins.
Oh, I didn't know that
They're
one.
not just for buying budget cards, you can also flip them for rules interaction. So here we go. 705.1 says, an effect that instructs a player to flip a coin may care whether the player wins or loses the flip. To flip a coin for such an effect, the player flips the coin and calls heads or tails. If the call matches the result, the player wins the flip. Otherwise, the player loses the flip. Only the player who flips the coin wins or loses the flip. No other players are involved.
Makes sense.
Right, so just because like I won a coin flip doesn't mean you lost, right?
Right. What if we were playing two-headed giant?
Oh, then if it specifically referenced your teammate, then yeah, you would be involved. But I don't think any of them do.
Okay.
Okay, all right. So, so slightly more interesting is 705.2, which says, if an effect instructs a player to flip a coin, and that effect cares only whether the coin flip comes up heads or tails, without specifying a winner or loser of the flip, that player flips a coin without making a call. No player wins or loses that kind of flip.
So that's basically it's like, well, this happens if heads, this happens if tails. Neither necessarily good or bad. They're just things that happen. So you just like flip it and then like let it hit the table.
Yeah, basically. So like, and if there's a card that counts on like the number of times you win a flip, that is not referenced on ones that specifically say heads or tails.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right. So there you go. It's coins. It's flipping them. But maybe you should use them to buy some of the cards we're going to talk about later in this episode.
I'm going to use a coin, start like flipping it and being like Two-Face at the table and be like, who am I going to attack?
Look, it's Ryan.
Yep. It was always you.
It was nice. Okay. All right. So that's going to move us right on into the main topic.
Yep.
Budget cards for Commander. And we want to throw a disclaimer out there.
There's always a disclaimer.
Oftentimes our content is not super budget focused, and that's because Zach and I have been playing for a very long time, and we have very deep collections. And so a lot of times when we're building a deck, we already have like a lot of the cards, and so we don't really think about budget, but we know that a lot of the folks out there in audience land probably are more budget conscious or might be a newer player that don't have super deep collections.
Right.
And so we thought, hey, maybe bringing you some budget friendly content would be interesting. And so if it was, please let us know via Twitter or in the comments on the video. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, our thought is like not everyone has like a stack of Candelabra Tanoses, and like we should make some content for those people.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
Yeah.
And so you might be asking yourself, well, because you guys have these deep collections, like what is your, resume for being able to talk about budget cards, right?
Yep.
And it turns out we actually do have quite a bit of budget experience.
I think so. Like we've talked about in the past, we have our leagues, they're budget leagues, and usually it starts out with a commander precon. So those are usually like $30, $35. So you start there, and you've got these cards. Everyone is on. I feel like WotC when they design these, they design them to be pretty fair against each other, pretty evenly balanced. So you're good there. So everyone plays, and what we do is you get between sessions, depending on how many games you want, et cetera, you get between like $5 and $10 to upgrade your deck, and when you're
that's about like every 2 weeks, right? So at most you're looking like $20 a month.
Yeah. And the thing is like, so usually if I'm playing a blue deck, I'm just gonna slam a Cyclonic Drift in there. Well, those things are like $20 to $25. Can't do that every time. So you've got to find budget options for these cards, or to do to get the effects that you want. So I think it's a cool thing to do, because then you definitely go deep on a Skyfall search, and then you end up finding a card from Ice Age that you're like, oh, I didn't know they did this. Ice Cauldron's really good. No, I'm just kidding. Not that part. But this card's like really good, and it's cheap, and it does what it needs to do. It gets the job done. And I don't know. Again, I think we've said this before, but any sort of like these kinds of restrictions, in my opinion, like breed like creativity. They cause you to have to work a little bit harder, and rather than just like windmill slamming all your usual favorites in.
Indeed. And we should also point out here that if you're a new player, the pre-constructed decks are a great place to start.
Oh, absolutely.
They're actually pretty relatively powerful. At least they have been in previous years or most recent years. And they're a really good place to start. And if you can find some friends and all start with those decks and do like a league kind of thing that we do, it's really great. And it's an easy way to get into the format for not a lot of initial investment. And over time, you can kind of, upgrade those decks. And that process is fun too. Like upgrading is really fun.
Yeah, I agree. And this is, honestly, this is probably the best year there's ever been to start with a Commander Precon.
Good point.
Because Ikoria, we're going to have 5, right? So the next set's going to be whatever the Zendikar one is. That one's you're going to get 2 Commander Precons there. And then with Commander Legends, the Commander draft set, there's going to be 2 more Precons.
So you're saying there's going to be a myriad landscape of possibilities.
That's correct.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, that's 9 different Precons you can get. And the cool thing is, you buy a few of these things and you're like, oh, this card would be cool in this one. I like this one better. And you start trading them around. And next thing you know, you have an entire room full, or you have an entire walk-in closet full of Magic cards.
It is a thing that happens.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So I did mention earlier that we wanted to call out a couple of budget-conscious content creators, and we've already mentioned the wonderful Commanders Brew.
Absolutely.
Their stuff is amazing, and there's a link here in the show notes. You should 100% go check them out. They're just really awesome guys, and they make really awesome content. And
really funny.
Yeah, super funny. And they've made like some really good stuff. And the cool thing they're doing now at the end of the videos, they do like the budget report when they're doing like a deck tech. And they, like sometimes they'll be like, oh, well, the deck is like this amount of money, but you can cut these 3 or 4 cards and bring it down to like a more reasonable like value. And I think that's really cool for like somebody that's trying to get into the format.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because you could probably shave off like in any one of my given decks, right? You could probably shave off maybe 10 cards and take out like, I don't know, like $100 or something, right? Like that's a pretty big dip. So that's really cool that they do. Another one is Commander's Quarters. Pretty new to the scene, started like in like 2019, I think I'd say.
Huge growth for Mitch
amazing.
over Commander's Quarters. And honestly, his content's really great. I watch a lot of his videos. They're super good.
They're very well done.
And like, honestly, like when you like look at the decks and like he explains like how to play them and stuff, it's like, whoa, that combo is going to like win the game. And like most of the cards in it are like under $1.
Yep.
And it's really impressive. And also he has other content. It's not just about deck techs like like opinion stuff, or like I think like the 2 cent videos where he just like gives his opinion on stuff.
Yeah.
Really awesome creator. You should definitely check him out. And there's a link in the show notes as well.
So we did some deep searching on the internet. And by the internet, I mean EDH Rec.
Yeah, shout out to EDH Rec, man. Like this episode, a lot of the content that we wanted to discuss, we were able to like look at EDH Rec and like find some data, and then we're gonna like kind of distill it down for the audience at home, and hopefully you're gonna find like some pretty cool nuggets in here, and also like we're nerds, we love the data, right?
Yeah,
like
for sure. And like that's the awesome thing too about like the time that we're in. Like you have resources like EDH Rec and Scryfall that when you're building decks, they show you a lot of choices that you can find, and there's a lot of times the budget choices are in there too. So.
And actually on EDH Rec, you can actually most decks when you're going to like
budget
look,
version, isn't there?
Yeah, there's a budget version for that commander. So huge shout out to that team.
Yeah,
that resource is amazing.
It's great.
So we're gonna dive into this here, and we looked at the top 100 cards on EDH Rec for commander over the last 2 years.
Yep.
Right, and so we kind of broke it down into like value ranges. And it turns out there were about 23 cards that were about $1 or less. And there were fewer than that were like $10 or more. But the majority fell in that like $1 to $10 range.
Yeah.
But we thought it would be really cool to like kind of tell you at home, like what are those 23 cards or some of them that are pretty cheap and they are staples of the Commander format. And it turns out that the main 23 cards that were under $1 broke down into like roughly 3 categories. Right. And that was mana dorks, ramp, and removal.
Yep. And then honestly, those are your 3 most important groups.
Aside from card draw.
Yeah, you're right.
And there were a couple of card draw ones in there as well. Like Harmonize was on that list. Yeah. Which is 2 green for a sorcery, draw 3 cards. Okay. So should we just like kind of like read down the list, or do we want to read these cards out? What do you think?
Let's just read them. I mean, people are gonna know what these cards do. I mean
these are staples, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And bonus points if you're watching the video, they'll probably pop up on screen.
Be on the screen, or they won't be. We'll see. No, they will be. So the first one, like Ryan said, was Mana Dorks. So you got Llanowar Elves, 1 green for a 1/1 that taps for a green mana. Yep. You have Elvish Mystic. Literally the same card, just titled Elvish Mystic. And then you have Avacyn's Pilgrim, which is a card I don't know what it does.
Yeah, it's another like mana dork. Yeah.
Is it green?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
All right. So in the ramp category, you've got Rampant Growth, which is the classic 1 and a green for a sorcery. Go find a basic land from your library, put it into play. Yep. Farseek, which is pretty close to that. I think maybe you can't get a forest or something.
Farseek's a plains, a mountain, and an island, I think.
Is Swamp in there too?
I don't think so. I think it's 3.
All right. Well, there you go.
I mean, I guess we'll find out if I'm wrong or not.
Talk about the next ones, and I'll find it.
The next are Signets. They're 2-drop artifacts that you can tap for one of 2 colors, like Golgari. It's green-black. And Gruul, it's red-green.
Yeah, you're getting there. Keep going.
Yeah. Selesnya, that's white-green. Yep. Simic, that's blue-green. And then those are the only ones you listed. So
yeah, and what's funny about those? They all have green in them, and that's probably why they're cheap. Because if you're playing green, you can play other mana ramps, so you don't have to rely on signets, right?
That's probably true.
So some of the other ones are actually over $1. I thought that was interesting.
Like that doesn't surprise me that like Dimir is probably like. I bet it's like $1.05 though, or something.
Yeah, they're close to $1. Like your Izzets as well.
Okay, so was Farseek everything but a forest?
It's 1 and a green for a sorcery. You search your library for a plains, island, swamp, or mountain, and put it into the battlefield tapped. Then shuffle your library. So, yep, okay. Because it'd be really weird if they just excluded swamp for some reason.
Well, all I remember was caring about was the mountain and the island when I played it in Scape Shift in Modern.
All right, okay, so. Your grinder Zack personality showing up.
Is it though? So what about removal, Ryan? What's Mortify do?
All right, so it's 1 black-green for an instant, and it can destroy target creature or artifact.
Putrefy is 1.
Oh no, did you say Mortify? I'm sorry, I just read Putrefy.
Oh.
Mortify is 1 black-white.
Yeah.
And it destroys a creature or enchantment.
Oh, I got them confused. I thought what you said, I thought was Mortify. I know Terminate's a black and a red, and it's destroy target creature too, I believe.
And I think it says can't be regenerated. Yep, it does.
What, Terminate?
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that regeneration. You got to worry about that. So
those are like basic staples.
Yeah.
And they're all pretty, like, they're not really flashy. And there's a lot of like, they've all been reprinted a bunch.
Yeah.
And, they're not a very unique effect, right? Like, heck, there's 10 different signets, right? So, and there's a lot of different green ramp spells, and there's a whole lot of mana dorks too. But yeah, that's it for the cards under $1 from the top 100 cards in the last few years on edhrec.com. And I just thought it was interesting to see like what cards were less. And next up, we're going to talk about the cards that were $10 or more. These are your super spendy ones. And we thought that it would be really interesting to not only talk about the cards themselves, but maybe like what some budget options are to replace them and like how replaceable that budget option is. Like on a scale of 1 to 10, like if it's a 10, well, why are you paying more money for that super expensive card? Because it perfectly replaces it.
Yeah, exactly.
Turns out there's probably not a lot of those on this list. So how do you want to do this, Zach? You want to just go down, start with one and talk about it?
Yeah, we can talk about these. So the first one is Sylvan Library, and its replacement is Crystal Ball. So let's read those out.
Sylvan Library is 1 and a green mana for an enchantment. And at the beginning of your upkeep, you can look at the top 3 cards of your library and put them back in any order. Is it draw step? Did I get it wrong?
Yeah, it's draw step.
Okay.
Yeah, you may draw 2 extra cards during your draw phase. If you do so, put 2 of the cards drawn this turn back on top of your library in any order, or pay 4 life per card not replaced. Effects that prevent or redirect damage cannot be used to counter this loss of life. Okay.
Yeah, but the basic idea is you get to look at the top 3 cards and pick one to put in your hand, and then if you want to pay some life, you can keep them. And this effect is pretty hard to replace. There's another card called Muraris Wake, which is pretty similar, but it's also super expensive.
Yeah, it is.
And it doesn't let you draw the extra cards. And I think there's a card here called Crystal Ball, which Zach, you want to hit him up with some knowledge?
It's an artifact for 3 mana. It says 1 tap, scry 2.
Yeah. All right. So I think Crystal Ball, and can we go back over here and talk about the price on Crystal Ball?
Sure.
So Sylvan Library is like in the $30-ish range.
It's like $35.59. Crystal Ball is 28 cents.
Yep. Okay. And so here's the deal, right?
Good
like
enough.
Yeah, like you don't get to draw the extra cards like you can with Sylvan Library, but that costs life, right? And this card can go in any deck, right? It's not green. It's an artifact. And sometimes when you're playing Sylvan Library, and I play it because I have a copy, cards get kind of stuck on the top of your deck because you don't have a shuffle effect and you don't like lands are up top there and you don't want to draw any lands and you don't want to pay 4 life to just get a land off the top of your deck. So Crystal Ball actually kind of like lets you get around that because you can scry them to the bottom.
Yeah.
Right. And so like after you've scried once and there's 2 lands on top, the next time you're going to get to look at 2 more new cards. And you also don't have to do it during your draw step. You can wait. And like if you have to counterspell something, maybe you don't have the mana to activate Crystal Ball, but it's only 1 mana a turn. I've played it a lot. It's really good.
Yeah.
It's a card I often include in our league decks. Like when I'm like, oh, well, I want this effect. So
pretty good.
I'd say it's like about a 6 on the replaceability scale.
Yeah, something like that, I'd say.
So better than average, better than half, and way better in cost, right?
Yep.
Okay, so what's our next one here?
The next one's 2 of my favorite cards in Magic. The first one's Phyrexian Arena, coming in at $11.11 at the time of recording. All these prices are at the time of recording.
That's a good point, yeah.
Hashtag amateur MTG finance.
Nice.
So Phyrexian Arena is an enchantment for 1 and 2 black. During your upkeep, pay 1 life, draw a card.
Yep. And the card we're replacing it with is Underworld Connections,
which is
1 black, and it's an enchant land.
Yep.
And you can tap the land to draw an extra card and lose a life.
Yeah, lose a life, yep.
Okay, so Underworld Connections costs you a mana, right?
Yeah, it does.
But, because, you have to tap the land, so you can't tap that land to add mana.
Right.
But you can do it anytime you want.
Yep.
And if you're getting really low on life, you don't have to, unlike Phyrexian Arena.
Correct.
Not to mention that if you have some way to untap lands, you can kind of go ham with the Underworld Connection. So I think it's actually like a really reasonable replacement. And Underworld Connections is coming in at like 44 cents. So.
Yeah. I mean, I always play both. Like I've been playing Underworld Connections since Return to Ravnica, and it's just a value card. It's real good.
Yeah, and I'd say on the replaceability scale, it's probably close to an 8. It's pretty close.
Yeah.
Like it's the same mana cost. It's the same card type. It's an aura instead of just a regular enchantment. And yeah, you lose a mana, but you get a lot of flexibility. And I think there are situations where Underworld Connections actually might be better.
Yeah,
so I think it's a really cool card, and maybe it's one that the audience out there doesn't know about.
Right. The next one we got is everyone's favorite common card from Prophecy, Rhystic Study. I almost said Praxeria. Rhystic Study is what, 3 and a blue?
2 and a blue?
2 and a blue for an enchantment that says every time.
Annoy the heck out of your opponents by asking if they want to pay the
like,
one.
It's like whenever your opponents cast a spell, if they pay 1 or you draw a card. So it's just like, Ryan's like, I've got Rhystic Study, Ryan's like, cast a spell, I'm like, honk. And Ryan's like
where is that goose?
I'm not paying it. Okay, cool. Honk. And, it gets real annoying. So, I mean, that card's fine. Mystic Remora is our replacement
Single
card.
blue mana for an enchantment with cumulative upkeep 1 colorless mana. Whenever an opponent successfully casts a non-creature spell, you may draw a card unless that player spends 4. Right? So did you pay the 4? That's a lot more than did you pay the 1.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, the downside is you can't keep this around all the time. It's got that cumulative upkeep. And also, it doesn't count creatures, right? It says non-creature. But honestly, in a lot of spots, Mystic Remora is slightly better because there's no way they're paying 4.
Yeah, for sure. Like if you're going against like a Spellslinger deck, like you got there.
Yeah. And Mystic Remora is still not a cheap card. It's like a little over $4. But it's pretty well worth it in my opinion. And a lot of my decks really want to run it. And I think it's really popular in the CEDH crowd as well.
Is it? I didn't know that. That's pretty awesome. Our next card is Muraris Wake.
All right. Muraris Wake is 3 white-green for an enchantment. And it says whenever you tap a land for mana, add the mana that land, like it doubles it. And it gives all your creatures +1/+1.
Yep. But
so what? And how much is Rhystic Study these days?
Rhystic Study?
I meant Muraris Wake.
It's $15.25.
Okay, so still it's getting up there. It's a pretty pricey card.
Yeah. Our replacement is Zendikar Resurgent, which I straight up actually play this card. It is 5 green for an enchantment that says whenever you tap a land for mana, add 1 mana to your mana pool of any type that land produced. So, whenever you cast a creature spell, draw a card. I think that's pretty sweet. Like, you get that card draw. You can get that +1/+1, but,
the card draw's arguably better.
I agree. Like, Muraris Wake is very specific. And in that Selesnya type of deck,
you got there.
Usually has some sort of token go white strategy, which only want that +1/+1, but Zendikar Resurgent just go strap in any green deck.
And so the thing about these is they only double your mana.
Yeah.
Right? So they're like your they're not like Mana Flare where it doubles everybody's mana.
Yeah.
And that's why these two are similar. Zendikar Resurgent costs 7, so it's more pricey to get out there. But again, you can put it in a Simic deck.
Actually, Zendikar Resurgent costs $4.38.
I meant mana cost.
I know.
But yeah, and $4.38, honestly, I remember Zendikar Resurgent being a 75-cent card. So, cards are just getting more expensive as time goes on, right? And I think that's part of the reason to do a video like this is hey, note down some stuff that's pretty cheap now. In the future, it may not be so cheap.
Yep. So our next one is a card I love. It's Enlightened Tutor.
Single white mana for an instant that lets you search your library for an artifact or enchantment card and put it on top.
I definitely love playing that in my Esper decks. But that one clocks in at $28.03.
Man, that card's expensive.
Yeah, the only reason I play it is because I have them left over from when I played in Mirage, right? Because
they were uncommons back then.
Yeah. So the new budget version that formerly came in at $30 or above, that was recently reprinted, is in Theros. Beyond Death.
Yes.
Is Idyllic Tutor, which does...
It's 2 and a white for a sorcery that lets you search your library for an enchantment only and put it into your hand. So I think Idyllic Tutor is now a budget option, but it used to be as expensive or more than Enlightened Tutor. And, it lets you get it to your hand. So it's kind of like the demonic tutor of enchantments.
Yep.
Now, obviously, it cannot go get an artifact.
Yeah.
But a lot of times you're going to go get that enchantment anyway. And you know what? I realized that we didn't say the replaceability on Rhystic Study and Muraris Wake. So let's go back and hit that. Mystic Remora is about a 3 on the scale of replacing Rhystic Study. It's good, but
ain't that good.
Rhystic Study is just a powerhouse.
Busted.
And we said Zendikar Resurgence is roughly around a 7 on replacement for Muraris Wake. So we're going to remember to do that on all the cards we talk about now. It's totally going to happen.
Yeah, totally.
Speaking of, how do we feel about Idyllic Tutor?
It's a 50-50.
So yeah, it's a 5 out of 10 on the replacement spec.
Yep.
So I think that's pretty cool. All right, so up next we've got another tutor that's very much like Enlightened Tutor. It's we have another replacement.
We have Open the Armory, which is $2.21. And let's see what that does.
It is 1 and a white for a sorcery that lets you search your library for an aura or equipment. Right? So you can get an artifact or an enchantment, but they have to be specific types of artifacts or enchantments.
What color is it again? What's the cost?
A 1 and a white?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's good in those decks because, you get your Simic equipment Voltron business going on.
Yeah.
And that art's cool. I like that art.
Yeah, it's a really good card, but it's not going to function as well as Enlightened Tutor, obviously. Like, you can't go get Phyrexian Arena with Open the Armory.
No.
But you can go get like Sword of Feast and Famine.
I hear that card's real good.
Definitely not a budget card. Okay.
You get Battered Skull.
Yeah, also a super expensive card, if I'm not mistaken. So, okay. So what did we think on the replaceability of Open the Armory?
Also a 3.
Yeah.
Not as good as Idyllic Tutor.
But you could do worse.
Yeah, but, it's cheaper than Idyllic Tutor.
By a whole heck of a lot. Okay, so now we're going to move on to Mystical Tutor, right?
Yes.
Okay, Mystical Tutor is a single blue mana, and it lets you search your library for an instant or sorcery and put it on top, right? It's the blue version of Enlightened Tutor, and it is clocking in at around...
Dun, 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 1061.
All right, so around $10 at the time of recording this.
Yep.
Pretty good card. $10 is a lot, though. We've got long-term plans here as the replacement, and Zach, I'll let you hit them up with that knowledge.
It's 2 and a blue for an instant that says, search your library for a card, shuffle your library, then put that card on the top.
Third from the top.
Third from the top.
Yep. So not quite as good as Mystical Tutor, but third from the top if you've got a Sensei's Divining top.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you're playing that $30 Divining top, this budget option works just as well for you.
Yeah. But here's the deal. Like it's very similar in function, but it can go get anything. It's not just instants or sorceries, right? It can go get anything.
Yep.
And if you've got some way to mill yourself for 2 or some way to draw a couple extra cards, it could be almost as good.
If you had a Crystal Ball, maybe.
There you go.
Yeah, 3 mana for 1, scry 2.
Combine that Crystal Ball with that long-term plans, and now you've got like a Sylvan Library and
combo
Mystical Tutor going on. Honestly, they function way better than you would think.
Yeah.
Seriously, I think long-term plans is kind of underplayed. A lot of Commander games go long, and I think that card can provide value over a long time. What are we doing on the replaceability on that one?
The replaceability it's a 6.
I think that's about right. What do you think?
Good. Yeah, I would say so. I actually I feel like I need to start playing long-term plans. That card's good.
So you're saying you have long-term plans to play long-term plans?
That's right. I have some short-term plans to buy some long-term plans. Isn't that how insurance works? I don't know. We got another card that matches kind of. It's a mystical scroll, merchant scroll. It's 1 in a blue for a sorcery. Search your library for a blue instant or interrupt, which
are just instants now.
Just instants, yeah.
It turns out,
yeah. Cool. Reveal that card to all players and put it into your hand. Reshuffle your library afterwards. So what you need to do is you have to shuffle it before you show it to everybody, and then you reshuffle afterwards.
Double the shuffling, double the fun.
Yeah, exactly. Double the time.
All right. So Merchant Scroll, a lot more narrow than Mystical Tutor, but it comes straight to your hand, so that's pretty good.
Yeah. It is sorcery speed though.
It is sorcery speed, but I mean, it's going to the top of your library with Mystical Tutor, so it's kind of like you're gonna have to replace your draw with it.
I mean, if you're gonna be able to cast what you get anyway that turn, it's the same thing as main phasing the Mystical Tutor. Well, I mean, not really.
No, but I mean, here's the deal. It can only get blue cards, and it can only get instants, but it can get the best blue instant. Cyclonic Drift. Also, not a budget card. Although, I think that's on our list a little bit later. Spoiler warning. All right. So yeah, actually go back here. I think that Merchant Scroll is roughly like a 4 on the replacement scale.
Yep.
Which is pretty good.
Yeah, I'd say that's about right.
Okay. So up next, we've got Vampiric Tutor.
Yep.
You know what this one does, don't you?
Yep. It's 1 black for an instant that says get a card, put it in your hand, pay for a life.
You're really close. You're really close. It's a single black mana. It's pay 2 life, get any card to put on top of your library.
Oh, I said 4 life.
Yeah, and you said into your hand.
Yeah, I thought it went to your hand.
No, that's Demonic Tutor. I think that's on the list a little bit later as well.
Word.
So Vampiric Tutor is clocking in at a hefty $70-ish.
Yeah.
Man, that is a lot of money for a single piece of card.
I wish I still have mine for my Prosploom deck. I had like 4 of them. But you know what card I like playing better now?
What's that?
Scheming Symmetry, because I'm always scheming. Always be scheming.
ABS.
Yes. So Scheming Symmetry is 1 black for probably a sorcery that says choose 2 target players. Each of those searches their library for a card, then shuffles their library and puts that card on top.
So you could just pick 2 opponents with this if you want to.
Yeah, you could.
But don't do that.
Yeah. I've been picked before with this. And the thing is, with Scheming Symmetry, honestly, in my opinion, the best strategy is the best land in your deck. Just put it on top.
There you go.
Yeah, when people are choosing for Scheming Symmetry, I'm like, I'll pick a land if you choose me. And they're like, oh yeah, cool. I'm like, Cabal Coffers, also not a budget card, on top.
So I don't know. Scheming Symmetry is pretty close to, it's not pretty close, but it's a single mana.
Yeah.
It's not an instant. It does go to your top of your library. So, if you've got some way to flash it in, it can do kind of an impression. The downside is you have to help out an opponent, but a lot of times in Commander, that can actually be an upside. A lot of times, you're playing an arch enemy game, somebody's way out in front, and you're like, okay, I'm going to go get something. You also go get something. Let's mess this player up.
I mean,
right?
It's definitely going in the secret, I guess it's not a secret anymore. The group hug deck I'm building.
Ah, okay. All right. You heard it here first. Zach is making a hug deck. Okay, so what did we think about Scheming Symmetry? Where's that fall on the replaceability scale?
A 4.
Okay.
I would personally say a 3.
Okay.
Because of the bonus that you're giving someone else. You may be cool. I may be cool and get a land. They may not be cool. And TH is like, oh, well, I put Vorinclex on top.
Oh.
All right. So that brings us up to a newer card, Assassin's Trophy, which is coming in at 1501.
It's a good card.
Yeah, it's super good. I mean, it's better than the 25 it was before, but Assassin's Trophy is a black and a green for an instant that says destroy target permanent an opponent controls. That controller may search their library for a basic land card, put it on the battlefield, and then shuffle their library.
Okay.
So basically it's like Path to Exile for anything.
Yeah, anything, even other lands. I mean, this card's super good. $15 is a hefty price, but in my opinion, it's pretty close to worth it. But for the replacement, we've got something that is actually pretty cheap. It's Maelstrom Pulse. It's 1 black green for a sorcery, destroy target non-land permanent, and all of the permanents with the same name as that permanent. So it's sorcery speed. It's not instant.
Yeah.
You don't ramp them. And if you're playing against a token deck, you can wipe out all the tokens in one shot.
Yep.
That's pretty cool. Or if somebody's got a bunch of soul rings, if every opponent has a soul ring and you don't, well, pretty sweet. I don't know. I think it's a really good card, and it's clocking in at around $2.
Yeah, that's a good card. Before Assassin's Trophy came out, I played Maelstrom Pulse. It's a decent card.
I think it's still eminently playable, and on the replacement scale, I'm going to give it around a 6. Right?
Yeah, I would say that
better than half.
Yeah, honestly, the only time I've ever seen really an Assassin's Trophy used on a land is Field of the Dead or something like that, right? Maelstrom Pulse not getting lands, I don't think that's that big of a deal. Sorcery speed, a little bit bigger of a deal, but still good. Another replacement card that is actually from one of the Commander decks a few years ago was Windgrace's Judgment. It's pretty good.
It's 3 black green for an instant.
Yep.
So just 3 more mana than Assassin's Trophy.
Okay.
For any number of opponents, destroy target non-land permanent that player controls. So in a multiplayer game, you're getting extra value here. It's not just one thing; it's 3 things. And, and you're it would cost you 6 to do that if you had 3 Assassin's Trophies. However, this one doesn't ramp them, and it's an instant. I don't know. I think it's pretty close to the replacement level.
I think it's good. I don't think it's as good as they wanted it to be, but I think it's good.
And for $2, like that's an effect I kind of want.
Yeah, for sure.
And I mean, like, here's the deal, right? We all play Commander. There are so many times you're sitting there at a game, and you're like, well, that person's got this busted enchantment, and that person's got this busted artifact. And it really, like, honestly, like, Windgrace's Judgment can way better level the playing field than a single Assassin's Trophy.
Yeah. And
you can wait to use it. Now, having to keep open 5 mana is a lot more than keeping open 2 mana. And that's really where the downside comes in.
Agreed.
But we're calling this around like a 7-ish level replacement.
Yeah, I would say that's about right. Like, the extra mana is a little thing, but...
All right, so up next, we've got a humdinger of a card, Zach.
It's clocking in at around $19, Cyclonic Drift. It's 1 in a blue, return target... permanent opponent, non-land permanent opponent controls to their hand, or you can pay the overload cost, which is 6 in a blue, and return all non-land permanents your opponents control to their hands.
Zach, you got there, man. Like, you didn't look at the card, you totally read it, and you got there.
I know.
Good stuff. Okay.
Remember that time I did it on Twitter for Cryptic Command?
Right?
Don't ask me to do it again, but I did it that one time. So, I love Cyclonic Drift. But there are definitely some more budget versions that do pretty much the same thing or pretty close. The first one is River's Rebuke.
All right. So River's Rebuke is 4 blue for a sorcery. Return all non-land permanents target player controls to their owner's hand. Okay. So this card is really awesome, and it's actually like better than it sounds when you read it. Because oftentimes when you're Cyclonic Rifting, you're doing it because there's one particular person you're trying to like stop or get in the way of.
Everyone else is just cloud damage.
And the other thing is, like, you can target one player with this, and the other people, like, if it's the arch enemy situation that we talked about a little bit earlier, the other people's boards aren't affected, and they can like bash in and get that player.
Yeah.
Right? Especially if it's the player to your right, like you get a free attack and then 2 more people get a free attack. Like, that's game winning sometimes, especially when you're like, oh, well, I just need to remove this one opponent and then I have like a pretty good shot at taking this game. And this card is clocking in at like $1, right? Or a little under $1. So, I mean, it's not Cyclonic Rift, okay?
It's not.
But it's better than it sounds.
Yeah,
I've
really
played with
is.
it and it's really good.
Yeah, no, I definitely play with it. It's going to be in my group hug deck. Yeah.
Word. I actually saw a tweet from DJ from Jumbo Commander earlier.
Oh, I saw that. with all the foil ones.
Yeah. Like, this card is really good, y'all. Seriously.
Yeah. Like, how much is it now? 90. Yeah. So like when it first came out, I bought a bunch of the date stamped ones for like $2 a piece.
Yeah. And honestly, like, this is a card that can go in a lot of your decks.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
You shouldn't feel bad. I mean, like, Cyclonic Rift is like the gold standard, but this is the bronze standard, I think.
I'd say we're like silver. Let's go silver.
There you go. Okay. So we think it's roughly a 4 on the replacement scale?
Well, so I mean, Cyclonic Rift gets 3 people. River's Rebuke gets 1 person. So it's a third. So what's 10 divided by 3? 3.333 repeating.
That would be that seems right. Yeah.
So you have it a 4. So that seems right.
All right. Okay.
I would have rounded down, but you rounded up. Way to be positive. I like it.
All right. So another choice that you can use to replace Cyclonic Rift, and I actually run this in a lot of my decks.
Because you are the worst.
It is an amazing card. It is Evacuation. It's 3 blue for an instant. Return all creatures to their owner's hand.
Oh, I forgot that was only all creatures. I don't care about that. That's good.
Yeah, it doesn't stop all the stuff that Cyclonic Rift stops, but honestly, it's like the blue Wrath of God.
Yeah, basically, it's the closest you're going to get. And like, Big John's coming in with like 1,000 things. It's just like, oh, hey, bro, Evacuation.
And here's the real thing. A lot of my decks win through non-creature stuff anyway.
Same.
So this is kind of does a better like approximation of Cyclonic Rift in a deck like that. I think it's, it's what do we say here?
You say 5? Yeah, I'd say 5.
And it's clocking in around $3. So a much, much more budget option for Cyclonic Rift. And actually one that I often run in tandem, especially in mono blue decks that don't have other board wipes.
Yeah,
this gets the job done a lot.
Yep, it sure does.
All right, and so the next one is Flood of
Elliot's Tears.
This card is pretty sweet as well.
Yeah, it just basically throws everything back to everyone's hand. Non-land permanents, right?
Yeah, it's 4 blue for sorcery and says return all non-land permanents to their owner's hands. If you return 4 or more non-token permanents, this way you may put a permanent card from your hand onto the battlefield. So actually, and now that I'm thinking about it, Flood of Tears may be the thing DJ was tweeting about. I'm not sure which one it was now. It was one of these two. Jumbo, I'm sorry if I got the wrong one.
I saw the tweet though. I just remember shiny blue.
I'm pretty sure I liked it.
Yeah, I know I did too. Yeah, okay, right. I probably retweeted it.
All right, so this card is pretty sweet. It does a pretty good impression because it is all non-land permanents like Cyclonic Rift, and it does hit your stuff too, which is kind of a bummer. But I'll tell you, if the one card that you can put into play is Omniscience.
I was thinking it too, man. Omniscience, just dump your hand back out. Yes.
And then it is Cyclonic Rift, right? At sorcery speed, but
whatever.
Still.
Close enough.
And even if you just put like some big giant thing out there or like some like Gilded Lotus and then play another spell, like there's a lot you could do with Flooded Tears.
For sure.
And again, I think this is coming in at around like a 6 on the replacement scale.
I'd say I agree with that.
And Flooded Tears is like 70 cents.
Yeah, you should get them. I bet foils are real cheap too. So another kind of pricey card is Heroic Intervention.
Man, this card got pricey quick.
Did it? What is this?
Look at how much it's at right now.
What?
It's like $17-ish dollars.
That's insane. What does this thing do? I've never even heard of this card. Permanents you control gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn.
For 1 in a green and it's green.
And it's oh my gosh. Yeah, no wonder. Like, if I knew that card existed, I would have bought like 10 of those. Like,
I remember in the beginning it was really cheap.
Yeah, like that seems like it would be a cheaper, but like in EDH, this is like an all-star. Like, honestly, I would almost compare this to Fairy's Protection.
Yeah, kind of. It doesn't last like the whole turn cycle, but yeah, it's pretty close. And I'll tell you this. I bought one for my Kadena Slinking Sorcerer deck like just a few months ago for $9. So it's already like doubled from there, which is
that's
astounding.
Ridiculous. Yeah.
And so this is a really hard one to replace. It's a tough card to replace, but it's really good. I couldn't find anything in mono green. There's a card called Make a Stand, which is a white card. It's 2 and a white for an instant, and it says creatures you control get +1/+0 and gain indestructible until end of turn.
Yeah.
So that's close, right? It's not hexproof, but it is indestructible, and there's a boost in there. It costs 1 more mana. It's also not in green, so if you're playing Simic, you can't run this card. But Make a Stand is pretty cheap. It's like 10 cents.
Yeah.
On the replaceability scale, we gave it a 2.
That seems about right. I mean,
because it's not green.
Yeah.
If it was green, I'd say it's closer to like a 7.
Yeah, I agree with that. And honestly, there's a lot of white, like, give your team like indestructible hexproof, but it's not green. I can't put it in my Sultai deck.
You know what? On the fly, I'm going to do another one here that I just thought of.
Oh, yeah?
This is Cauldron of Souls. You can get one for about $1.80. It's a 5 mana artifact, so you can run this in green decks.
Yeah.
And any other deck. And you tap it and you say, choose any number of target creatures. Each of those creatures gains persist until end of turn. So
that's legit.
It'll let them all come back with a -1/-1 counter. So if the board wipe happens, all your stuff comes back, but it's a little bit smaller. Yeah. But you get to re-trigger those enter the battlefield abilities.
Well, that's an artifact?
Yeah, it's an artifact.
I need to put that in my Yarick deck. That's good.
It's a really good card.
It's real good.
The problem is people see it coming, so maybe they don't do the board wipe. So
I mean, it depends on where they're sitting in the table.
So on a replaceability scale, I'm going to give this a 3, I guess.
I was going to be like 9.5. I don't know. It seems real good.
It is. It's a really good card, and it's budgety, so not too bad. All right, so up next we've got the classic tutor.
Yep.
The tutor of tutors.
Yep. Everyone's favorite tutor. Demonic Tutor, which TH got one of those at the
in the mystery booster draft.
And it wields to him because
it's marked as an uncommon.
Yeah. Well, I read it and I thought it was
the card that we're going to talk about.
Yeah, Demonic Tutor. So Demonic Tutor is 1 in a black. Search your library for a card. Put that card into your hand. Shuffle your library. Tell your opponents, I'm doing whatever I want. I'm going to show it to you.
Right. And so that's like a $30 card these days.
Yep.
And the replacement is basically the exact same card. It just costs twice as much.
Yep.
It's Diabolic Tutor. It's 2 black for a sorcery that does the exact same thing. And it's like 38 cents.
Yeah.
So it's, we're going to call this like a 7 on the replacement scale.
I would say so.
It's twice as much, but if you got Trickle Ball Coffers, not in your budget deck.
Obviously not, no.
But if you've got that mana floating around, it's the same card.
The Dimir Signet.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. So I don't know. Obviously, if you want to play a bunch of tutors, you might run both. But
Yeah.
Like if you want to be on a budget, but you have like a specific card that you need to find to like make your combo work, you could do a lot worse than Diabolic Tutor.
Are there budget combo decks?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, a lot of them actually.
Sweet. So the next card is one of my favorites.
And this is the last one that was on the top 100 list on edhrec.com for cards that were $10 or more on the top 100 for the last 2 years.
2 years. So this is Supreme Verdict. 1 white, white, blue. That second one is always so hard to get. For sorcery, Supreme Verdict cannot be countered. Destroy all creatures.
That's clocking in at almost $17 right now.
That's a little less than it was when when it was in standard. Honestly, I just play Wrath of God, right? 2 white, white, destroy all creatures, sorcery, done.
Yeah, well, I mean, Wrath of God actually has like the can't regenerate clause too.
Yeah,
so that's like kind of nice. So if your meta's not full of a lot of counter spells, it's pretty close.
Yeah.
And so the one that I put on here is Day of Judgment.
Day of Judgment,
it's 2 white, white, and it just says destroy all creatures. It's a sorcery.
It doesn't say they can't be regenerated.
No,
so that's the difference between. I always wondered about that. I thought they were the same card.
Yeah, and so Day of Judgment's like $2.
Yeah.
Way less than 17, and you can cast it in a mono white deck if you want. So I think replaceability wise, it's like a 7.
I'd say
like
so.
Honestly, it really depends on if you've got a lot of counter spells running around in your meta, and that's like what you're worried about. But I don't have a lot of decks where I run Supreme Verdict.
I will because I have them in Esper type decks, but like I wouldn't run out and buy one if I didn't already have one, right?
But what I would do is run out and watch Supreme Verdict by John Dunning.
Oh yeah, man! Did you watch the last one with the Bash Bros and Masters of Modern?
No, I haven't seen that one yet, but I was really excited.
Yeah,
for it.
I was too. I haven't had time to watch it, but I hear like it gets cutthroat. So go check out John Dunning's content at youtube.com/ They Said We Said.
Mm-hmm.
So
and on Twitter at Orzhov Dunning.
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, that's Supreme Verdict. You got to mention him.
Yeah,
right,
for
when it
sure.
comes up.
There's no way you can't. What's the next replacement you got?
All right,
here?
so we've got another card, and it's a recent one. It's called Time Wipe, and it is
1 white, white, blue.
Close. 2 white, white, blue.
Word. I almost got there.
And it's sorcery. It says return a creature you control to its owner's hand, then destroy all creatures. Right. So
I like this card. I like this card a lot. Like, so when Primetime inevitably becomes unbanned, you're like, and you're playing your like green, white, blue deck. What is that? Is that banned?
That's banned.
Banned. I got there. I'm just like, oh, Primetime, you come back to my hand. I see you guys. Why don't you go to the graveyard? And then I'm like, oh, hey, Primetime, welcome back out to the table.
Yeah, and so it's 1 mana more. It can be countered, but it has the upside of like saving your commander or some other really awesome creature.
Yeah.
I think this is like a 6 on a replaceability scale,
Agreed.
and it's a 39-cent card.
Yeah, like if you're running blue-white, like definitely run this if you don't have a Supreme Verdict. Like, it's just, I still, like, I don't think Supreme Verdict, if you don't have them, I don't think it's worth like going to get those.
All right,
Yeah,
I think that's kind of the list of cards that we wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
Hopefully the folks out there found this interesting and like some of the cards that we talked about.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, I think so. And I think like definitely let us know like your favorite budget cards. Like we want to hear. Maybe there's some that we totally missed. We'd like to hear from you.
Oh, and that's the other thing. Like, there's so many cards in the game of Magic.
Yeah.
It's really hard to know them all. So, like, if you guys have some really good budget suggestions, yeah, we'd love to hear them, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Please, like, hit us up on Twitter. Put them in the comments of this video.
Yeah.
We would really, really appreciate it. Special thanks to our super patrons. You can check us out at patreon.com/commandersocial and join at the Your Name in Lights tier if you want to be here as well. Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much it, right?
Yeah.
I guess we should say that, Commander is becoming more and more popular. It's widely and fastly becoming the most popular format in Magic.
So buy all the cards we listed today. Channel Fireball.
But yeah, like, we've been playing for a long time, so we have like the luxury of having like a big collection. We know that the folks out there don't necessarily have that luxury. And so we want to say that, yes, it is becoming more expensive, but there are budget options and they are very powerful.
Right.
And I just don't want that to discourage any new players from trying to play this format, because I really think that there's huge benefit in playing. And I think that if you spend a little bit extra time, like doing some research and doing some searching, you can find some really powerful cards and be really competitive on a budget.
All right. So that pretty much brings us to the end of the episode. Thanks for making it this far. we really appreciate you taking, this hour to 45 minutes to an hour out of your week. If you want to support us, one of the best ways you can do it is tell a friend, retweet the tweet announcing the episode being released. If you want to go a little bit extra, you can always hit us up on Patreon. It's patreon.com/commandersocial. And, I think, coming at the $5 here and getting that Discord chat, like, I think the value is really there just to be able to, like, talk to our community. Like, I think it's a lot. It's really cool. So, like I said, I hope you enjoyed this. Get asked with any ideas or thoughts or comments that you have. But until next week, I'm Zach.
And I'm Ryan.
Saying,
Keep it social.